Of Jesus, Name, Tony, the Pyrana, Monum Zawa, Name, Yumora, Tangre, Bana, Yi Zawa, Name, Tonyam Jarin, Ate, Daria, take from Vidala, Passion, Himalaya Bado Jela Zuande Zoy Himalaya Bado Jela Zuande Zoy Himalaya Bado Jela Zuande Zoy Himalaya Bado Jela Zuande Yet up your mother, and jail, drinking music, job, Chutado, Javars, and Jella, Jelon, Yedon, Majana, in a wonder, Chesum, yes, if I might, or die, Tanin, Yunus, Mola, Madikin, Kola, Adante, Bombay, Pyrona, Yambaza, Lona, Yoja, Bande, Pyrona, Children, Lona, Ona, Meta, Pyrona, Zubaza, Lona, Yamne Dabane Bana Kundu Zawana Mangla Nepe Parana Something Zawana Nelo Tope Parana Hira Zawana Sete Toje Parana Taki Zawana Divya Jombe Parana Togi Zawa Lona Me Onye Drepe Parana Monam Zawa Lona Me Nyumong Rang Tang Re Bana Yi Zawa Lona Me Tonyam Zarina Te Darye Tek Jong Idala Rupa Jong Himalaya Bado Himalaya Bado Himalaya Bado Himalaya Bado Yet your mother, good and jail, drinking music, job, the road. Chutado, Javars, and Jella, Jelondo, Yedomba, Majana, Line, in a under Sabas, Sesam, yes, if I might, or die, Tanin, Yami, say, Jinjing Messim, Jinjing Mola, Madikin Kola, Zerami, Adante, Bombay, Pyrona, Jimbazawa, Lona, Yoja, Bombay, Pyrona, Children, Zawa, Lona, Ona, Meta, Pyrona, Zubazawa, Lona, Yamne Davame Bana Tundu Zawa Lona Me Mangla Nepe Pyrona Something Zawa Lona Me Nelo Tope Pyrona Hira Zawa Lona Me Sete Tope Pyrona Taki Zawa Lona Divya Jombe Parana Topji Zawa Onyen Rabe Pairana Monam Zawa Lona Nyumon Rang Regbana Yiji Zawa Lona Tonyam Serlin Ate Darya Tek Dong Dala Rupa Chung Pizung Himalaya Bado Jela Zorwande Zoy Himalaya Bado Jela Zorwande Zoy Himalaya Bado Jela Zorwande Zoy Himalaya Bado Jela Zorwande Yet up your mother, good and jail, drinking listen, job the Chutado, Shavars and Jella, Jelon, Yedon, Majanam, and I, Gander, Sailors, and some years by my brother, Panin, Yamin, Yinjing Mess and Jinya Mora, Madikin, Hora, Adante, Bombay, Pai, Rona, Jimbazawa, Lona, Georgia, Bombay, Pai, Rona, Chicken Zawa, Lona, Ona, Meta, Pai, Rona, Zibazawa, Lona, Yamne Rabame Bana Tundu Zawana Nala Nepe Parana Something Zawana Nelo Tope Parana Shira Zawana Sete Tope Parana Taki Zawana Divya Jombe Parana Topji Zawa Lona Onyen Rabe Parana Monam Zawa Lona Nyumon Rang Regbana Yiji Zawa Lona Tonyam Serlin Ate Darya Tek Dong Dala Rupa Chung Pizung Himalaya Bado Jela Zorwande Zoy Himalaya Bado Jela Zorwande Zoy Himalaya Bado Jela Zorwande Zoy Himalaya Bado Jela Zorwande Yet up your mother, good and jail, drinking listen, job the Chutado, Shavars and Jella, Jelon, Yedon, Botalo, Majanam, and I, Gander, Sailors, and some years by my Zorda, Tanin, Yamni, Yinjing Mess and Jinya Mora, Madikin, Hora, Adante, Bombay, Pai, Rona, Jimbazawa, Lona, Yoja, Bombay, Pai, Rona, Chicken Zawa, Lona, Ona, Meka, Pai, Rona, Zubazawa, Lona, Yamne Rabame Bana Tundu Zawa Lona Anla Nepe Parana Something Zawa Lona Nelo Tope Parana Shira Zawa Lona Sete Tope Parana chi sa va lo na me divya chon pa va na top chi sa va lo na me hon yin zhe pe pa ra na mo lam sa va lo na me yun mong rang chang re ba na yi chi sa va lo na me hon yang zhe lin a te dar yin a cai zong bi da la ba chong xi zong su ye ma la ye ba do ye la zo wan de zo ye ma la ye ba do ye la zo wan de zo ye ma la ye ba do ye la zo wan de zo ye ma la ye ba do ye
Gebetbuch, prayer book. Page number 2. Panjuru nyeka gunjang amadhanje Yamre amala sindhan donghanye Tezara jene azame alam lanyo Dala namara jimbe nranam baran jimbe Tharbadan tham jen jimbe baran dan jim baran jimbe tham jen jen thoje Mhanam khadanyam besim jen tham jen devadan Dong he dan dharan jen dalan hamem bayang dan baran zom bezan Rambo jen thom baran zon Dala dan vara jimbe nranam baran jimbe Tharbadan tham jen jimbe baran dan jen baran jimbe tham jen jen thoje Mhanam khadanyam Hadan dhan dhong edan dharan jen dalan namem bayang dan baran zom bezan Rambo jen thom baran zon Dala dan vara jimbe nranam baran jimbe Tharbadan tham jen jimbe baran dan jen baran jimbe tham jen jen thoje Mhanam khadanyam besim jen tham jen devadan Dong he dan dharan jen dalan namem bayang dan baran zom bezan Rambo jen thom baran zon De jen do sang ama jen jen baran Lung aye zong he walang koram aye baran de lung aye zong he walang De de rei ne zong de nyam ma sang da zam jen baran de lung aye he walang ko san je je dang zo jen cho nam
Einen wunderschönen guten Morgen. Jetzt wird nochmal der fünffache Mahamudra-Pfad Lied gesungen und das ist die Bitte, dass ihr euch konzentriert, dass eine ganz tiefe Hingabe entwickelt eben beim Zuhören. So good morning. The fivefold Mahamudra song will be sung, so please give rise to deep concentration and to the fight.
Semne jena kanyang pala So, my Dharma friends, every day we speak about the fivefold path over and over again. We have done that for many years. We keep saying fivefold path, fivefold path, fivefold path, and then we continue to do that in the future. We will keep talking about the fivefold path, and even though we keep talking about it, it really has only one meaning, one essential meaning, and yet we don't really understand that. Yesterday, for example, we just heard a very brief root verse by Milarepa, and these verses then, for example, are clarified by Chikdin Sumgun, by his verses. So the difference is that, so when we hear Milarepa's words, then we feel that oh, this is important. This is something I should know. For example, Milarepa said, on your crown, visualize the word Guru. So he said that. But then ordinary people who don't really understand the qualities of the Guru might then think that there's just this one solid person called the Guru. And that's actually not what the Guru really is. That shows that one hasn't understood the Guru's qualities. So then Jigten Sumgön clarifies in his verse, the Guru actually has 4 kayas, the snow mountain of the 4 kayas and so on. And then it becomes clear, and you realize that that is what Milarepa meant. So then in that way, you listen to various instructions from different teachers, and sometimes your mind is very clear and you immediately understand what is being said. And sometimes your mind is not so clear, a little bit obscured, and there are many thoughts, and you don't really understand everything that is being said. Maybe out of 100 words, you understand 1 or 2. And sometimes you're just more in an indifferent, neutral state, you're not really listening, and so on. So anyways, first of all, thank you for listening to the teachings again and again, because the more you listen, even if you don't really understand, it's still a great benefit, because even if you don't understand it so clearly right now, in the bardo, the consciousness actually has clairvoyant powers, and that is due to the quality of your Buddha nature. So therefore, everything that you have heard in your lifetime, for example, a transmission that you have heard that you didn't understand, obviously, but in a bardo, you remember that, and you will also actually remember the meaning of what was said in that transmission. The bardo consciousness is very clear, and then basically it goes around and hears and sees and remembers whatever it has come into contact with in one's lifetime, pure and impure states. And in this way, the consciousness circles around. And for example, the good things that you have heard in your lifetime, the teachings of the Dharma and whatever you have seen and heard and so on, all of that will be remembered by your consciousness in the bardo. So for this reason, you shouldn't actually think that maybe you're wasting your time because you don't really understand anything. Even if you think that you don't really understand anything right now, there still is a great benefit, because later you will understand, and definitely it is not a waste of time.
이들은 다 사자집 보소. 사자집 모집아 강에 되고 사자집보다 사자집 서로요 사회에서 때말이 갖다 라마 그 이해가 감이더니 코스한테 상제기 용들이 상제 코스보다 아니 상제 공방도로 상제 코스이 버슬랍당들라고요. 상제를 코스는 사회에서 지들이 오원이 것이 랍송 갔당 오원이 것들이 랑sem디 니고 따고 오원이 것들이 오다 사지 것음디 용 진짜 삼아 랑sem이 와서 오원이 것에도 이제 대하고서나 그 다기 안랑 싫어 통금도 니는 아직 뭐람 새 절도라 맞추게 대하자다 좀 아직 뭐람나 갈라거들 라마 사족 semna soa de yore de 다다 랑 승리니 ngō wala tēni tā sēmī jan nāngkhāyāng wala āsi lāma kāyāng lā kore sēmī sēmī nāngkhāyāng rā kore sēmī ngō tēyāng nā tēni nāngkhāyāng jīmbi wā hā kōna tēni sācā chibi mēnti tēni tā ngore sēmī jan nāngkhāyāng wala nā tō tēni sō mā tēni chīni jizā kāmbi rā sēmī tō tēni tēni tō tsik tēni 오, 뭐 이거 가래 샘리 다랑 샘 쳤다 그래서 하다가 말이지 샘 쳤대나 되니 다 남도만 보서 통고요 오 샘광 나파도 미하고 남도만 보서 통고요 남도 진체에 받아 통고요 에 남도 어디 하고 샘 도마서 남도 어디 하고요 이제 남도 샘 나파도 그래지 이거 삼았다는 거예요 sempre non quando insare carina già na bote tata miro dice ko melon tavi si de sempre de che do bene di na so che na ma so cha o sempre casi la che ci vuoi do care sono crudini di giova ta ma do giova no to si non quando care di si o de devare de che si napsiti de 달리 다 뽑아도 대롱 없게 되고 시tab적에서 하고 요래 사바장이란 말이야. 맛이 맞다면 선남 간다고 나도 좀 말 되니 좀 하고 그랬다다. 요장을 해지. 선남 간다고 그래지. 나도 좀 말다고 그래지. 선남 나도 가리도 딱 그랬지.
So today we again speak about Mahamudra, and so now we might think that it's something that is some quality that someone has out there. But yesterday we already mentioned the Guru's 4 kayas. So we said that when one attains the state of enlightenment, one attains the qualities of the 3 kayas. That's a quality of a Buddha. So a Buddha is an embodiment of that. There is this prayer where it says the Guru or the Buddha is endowed with these blessings of the 3 kayas. So now we also mentioned that there is this 4th kaya, the essence kaya, the Svabhavika kaya. And that is your own mind. So here you need to look at the essence and nature of your own mind, not on the outside, but within. And then when you look at your mind, finally you realize that actually these 3 kayas that the Buddha possesses, actually they all are within me. They are not separate from me. When you realize that, you realize there's Svabhavika kaya. So now there's this in our green book, there's this prayer, the 5-fold path aspiration prayer that Lama Tsering also had that translated in there. I think that's on page 8 in Tibetan, and then, 11. 11 in the English and German. And so also in there it says, I supplicate to Bodhicitta, that is the actual Guru. And so here, at this point of the teachings, we are now introduced to the actual nature of the mind. And in the corresponding verse to that, which is on page 46, it said, as long as the cloud accumulations of thoughts do not dissipate in the vastness of space, the nature of mind, the planets and stars of the 2-fold knowledge are without splendor. So what we need to understand here in the beginning is that the mind is like the sky, like the open sky. And we can understand that within space, within the sky, there is no division or no duality. And that is simply what we give the name Mahamudra. And when you realize that all of that is your own mind, you realize there's Svabhavika kaya. So here you need to look within at your own mind. And the experience to be gained here is that the mind is like space. Of course, first, when you look at your mind, you will see an endless chain of thoughts, many different thoughts. But there is also a clear awareness that recognizes, that is fully aware of all these thoughts. So there's a knowing awareness. So first we need to understand, I look at my mind, there is those thoughts, but mind is like space. And that always remains. And the thoughts, they come and they go. The mind, in the meantime, is like a mirror like wisdom. And anything can be reflected. All sorts of thoughts and emotions and appearances are reflected within the mind. And those come and go, but the mind always remains. So the activity in the mind always changes. One moment we are happy, one moment we are sad, all kinds of thoughts arise. It always changes. But then there's something that always remains, and that is that consciousness that is clear and that knows, oh, this is a happy thought, this is a sad thought, and so on. That's always there. So a beginning practitioner should first look at the mind just like that. Of course, those of you who are more familiar with that and who already know the nature of the mind, there's no need to clarify that further for you. But if you're not so familiar with it yet, then what you need to first really understand is that the nature of the mind is like the sky, like the open sky, and within that thoughts
이제 딱 동감이 다 이는 마다랑 세봤다. 나도 망보디 나도 뭐 심기 시바데 되는 나도 샤데 나고 잡나 제 지지 지금 나도 그래라 어디 지지 나도 로그 주제 영어로 주지 나도 보고 잡았지 그래 삼로다나 딱 제지 좀 나도 저 샤롱한테 하고서는 심기 시바데 딱 보라 나도 야샤로 심기 쪽 맞도면도 없어 하고 나도 야샤는 심기 쪽 맞도면도 심기도 가지고는 또 오, 심기도 땅아테도 심기도 mental 상아 옹아리 나오냐 말이 들이 땅 나오냐 말은 그니까 가리 들을 가지고 땅아디 나들 들이 루드스트럭이오래 바시게 납시 대신 못에 나이니 상태 나오냐 말들이 다들 박차들이 포마가 날쇼요 들 루드스트럭이오래 루드 다 토도로 참말 루드 메마레 다 샘도 메레 이 세계대로 최근이니까 다 쉽게 뒤집어려 고집어려 뒤집어서 타지 뒤집어 대상으로 땅들은 대게 나도 먹어서 대 양도 나도 파야야야야 이런 것들이 나도 탕으로 참상 나도 매와 참상 차용을 해 나도 직장 매월 감들이 제일 당고 총총도 양장도 광수라 오 당연히 세분 남과 세분이 제일 잘했어 세분이 그 남가라고 하고서나 다시미 남가 일이 하고 대하고 뭐 나도 나고 잡더니 하고 타고 마도 들이 너무하게 쳐는 장 나도 나고 맞았더니 센티 조금나리 나도 살는데 봐가 대고 뭐지
So in the beginning, basically, we need to understand that the mind is like space, and the thoughts come and go. So you let them go. So now when you really want to know the nature of the mind, you have to look at your own mind. You cannot look elsewhere. And when you look at your own mind, first you see many thoughts, this endless chain of thoughts. But within that, there's also this clear awareness that sees all these thoughts passing by. And if you hold on to these thoughts, then one thought leads to another, 1 and 2, 3 thoughts, and you keep thinking that's this and this is that. So you're creating this story in your mind, which is like a kind of like a chain of like a line of sheep, for example, or it is like giving birth to a child. Like one thought gives birth to another thought, and so on. So there's this endless chain of thoughts. And even though hundreds of thoughts might arise, there is only one awareness that recognizes them. So however many thoughts arise, you just need to recognize them. There is something that's always there, and that's the clear awareness. And that clear awareness is the one that we think that is me. So for now, we call that I. That's what we think. That's what we think we are. Who we are is that clear awareness. So what is this feeling of I am, that engages in all these activities? It is because of this concept of an I that we have created a body. So there is the Bardo consciousness, and for the time being, although there is Buddha nature, there is a perception of self-other duality to that consciousness. So there is a sense of an I that exists, and due to these habitual imprints, then one creates a body. One enters the womb of the mother, and one has created a body. But all bodies will perish. So the body is not the person or the individual. The body is not who we really are. So then we think that then we really are, I'm really the mind. So then look at the mind. And all there is this clear awareness. And you just need to decide upon it. So when you look at only this awareness, first there are a lot of thoughts. But however many thoughts arise, again and again, you train yourself in just letting them be, letting them go without holding on to them. And eventually, the thoughts will wear themselves out. They will not arise any longer. And then sometimes there is a moment where there is no thought. And in the beginning, that moment is very brief. And then you habituate again and again, and it becomes extended. And so slowly then you begin to realize my mind really is just like space. And when you really decide upon that, then finally you have actually understood that the mind itself is like space. For as long as you hold on and cannot let go of all these thoughts and emotions, you cannot really understand that the mind is like space. Because for...
rakwa chadang ni chawa ge do ni chawa da jing ga tin zhu gu da zhe zhe ge se do ni de li wa zi chawa do ba de na wa xie dang cha cha de yo rakwa chadang ni de de ya se ji sang ji o kong ne ge zhou bo yi de kong ne zhou yi sang de zhou de chadang ni ge ji ji de na do rakwa zhe li 제 샤로는 들으실 거예요, 말이죠. 제 샤로 다 산쪽서 오고데 코 제도 남들 이 상태 딱딱을 이라고 돼 그게 지지들아 또 사바체비 때 그래도 우리 중국으로 마서나 이 중국이 연구에 사바체비 말로 마서나 이 자원이지 사자 좀 보고 되는 다 사바체비 공들은 뭐지 이나 이제 참아냐바니 참아파만 람서 사바데 요에 대다버지가 사자 좀 보고나 남 또락 참아 다시는 람상 쳐다라기 어따네 저 같이 샤르는 내 밤에 봐 마샬도 다셈 참들었지 또 와서 또 내용이 셈들이 사자 좀 보다고 사자 선왕 느끼 나이 이가 동반이지 나도 자는 해야요 말 저도 지금 다시 나 거도 샬라도 로바도 네 로바티비에서 생각 감시 과도 그래서 소소로 싸웠다는 거예요 대마죠. 나고 세고 다들 가도 되는 세고 다들 라가마리 이다 가도 그 이해한테 막생활 다라고 뭐 이해 다가면 당연히 생각하는 차원들이 또 남카는 님 매하게 돼. 생각은 님도 상하게 돼. 무시 차고 저래들 사와드나 무보다 치면서 봐대 바똥마 차서 그 생각이 자체 뭘 생각 남카 체배 봐 라비 그쪽 잠을 하고 그래. 대하고네들이 똥들다 가서 말아래 똥반이라 공인생세 똥반이 가려고 나지 이면도 다 하고 대 똥반이면 다 세정들이 뒤에서 좀 망고 절로 똥반이 나빠 똥반이라 저다 고아 찾고 말이야. 또 나지 이지지 저것들 탐지 싫다고요. 뒤로 어떻게 맞더니 따지 이제 몇 퍼센트 연타 지금 곰 그래 곰수나 들이다 나도 돌아가셔면 다들이 사마침이 들이 했고요. 사마침이면 사다쳐 볼 빼고요 말이다.
So for as long as we are holding on to those thoughts and can't let go of them, we cannot really understand the space-like nature of the mind, because then the mind is still obscured like polluted water. And so only when the mind is unobscured and you do not hold on to thoughts, then you will understand the nature of mind. So even if thoughts arise, they don't affect you if you are able to let go of them and do not cling to them. So the key point is to let them be. And so there's actually two kinds of thoughts that arise. There are those that we can let go of and those that we cannot let go of. And then there's, of course, also neutral thoughts, but we often just naturally let go of them. And so then there's those thoughts that we are able to let go, and awareness is held with stability. But then there is those thoughts that we cannot let go. And these are mainly the coarse forms of attachment and aversion that have their subtle counterpart. And their subtle counterpart are hope and fear. There's this subtle hope that I want to do this, I want to accomplish this, for example. That's how it begins. And hope, for example, this expectation of doing something, wanting to do something, that is the subtle version of attachment, which is more coarse. And fear for something to happen is the subtle version of aversion or hatred. And so, for example, how it begins is you think that this person, for example, that is my friend, and he's really my friend, or he's really my enemy. And we believe this very firmly. So these conditions of strong attachment and aversion are very firm in place. And then when those arise, we can't let go of it at all, of this idea that someone really is our friend or really is our enemy. And so then we hear, you should cultivate bodhicitta, for example. We know that, but then we don't actually, we do it, but not when it comes to that enemy or that friend. So because that's really true, they are really like that, and we have a real perception of a duality. So here we can't let go of our views. And that is why we also have said before that if you do not have the foundation, the preliminary of love and compassion, the actual main part practice will not happen. That is the reason precisely why we cannot ever really see the nature of Mahamudra. But a person who has given rise to immeasurable love, they will already see everyone as their parents. Everyone will be the same for them. And such a person, when they meditate and rest in Mahamudra instantly, they will be able to let go of all those thoughts, subtle and coarse thoughts. They come one after the other, one by one, and then they dissipate as they arise, just like waves on the water. So all the arising then doesn't really affect them negatively. And so then for them, then what remains is just a clear state of mind. And that is what we call then Mahamudra. So now when we try to understand this state, we say that it is empty. Now we have heard that the universe and all beings, self and other, are empty. What that really means is that when we try to look for a self, we will not find it. But then how do we really understand that? Now there is some, for example, who dissect the body and look at the bones and look at the flesh and so on, different body parts, and finally they cannot find the self there. But actually not even having to look at the body like that, we look directly at the mind and we cannot find the self there. And because we can't find the self there, we can also conclude that there is no other. So when the mind becomes like space, then you realize that there is no duality, because within the sky, within space, you understand that there is no division, no duality. And that is when certainty in non-duality begins to arise. Otherwise, when we speak about emptiness, it's something that we have maybe just a momentary understanding of, a mere understanding of, but then we don't really understand what it means. So it is when all grasping at reality disappears, an inherent existence disappears, and we really see the vast nature of the mind. That's the real nature of the mind. Or as Milarepa had said, meditate on emptiness. Emptiness means realize that self and other do not exist. So that is really what's meant with emptiness. Otherwise, we can understand emptiness in many different ways. For example, this world will come to an end, or everything is empty, sky is empty, space is empty. So in this way, it's hard to understand it actually. We won't really understand it. What we need to understand is that self and other do not exist.
니지 미장 동반이 선 동반이 매번 하고 싶어 싸웠더래. 오, 때리시라고. 이시대 가려고. 이실 이요 말. 니용나들이 남도래. 니면은 이시 말아봐가 숨나 남도의 이시기 제발 에 뭐지과지 파카고는 남도 차대에서 나이니 살로 좀 남도래 저가던 이시대는 니매와 하고서 저렇게 그 이시지바들이 다 남카다 다이니 니지매와 데르들이 살도 동부 이신 거이 성자는 고변도 받아갈 때서 맹만 거들 대학을 가르치는 거 님도 다 미국 명강통되는 것으로 샘지지 봐봐 다 고아자오 샘지 봐래 니들까지 샤나 고아샤나 문의들이 니 우미 강상보다 혼이지 시험선 이 우미 강하면서 오 민카와 가오나 명 통고도 쏘고 통고도 이시대들이 탐비 찹대바나 이 자연고요래 제라 예내 요배 예시사도 당가소라나 그 센디 망아상고요래 말 세우코는 남카를 빼리 다 세미 남카야 발라스 지스 고고 송바리 남카도 가지고 소리에 살아도 같이 나도 가지고 소리라고 나도 소소소소 그치그치 뭐 소리를 나도 다만이 말을 나 매일 사지를 하려면 같이 코긴 개발이 나도 코와 가지고 소리 사지가 하고 요에서 하고는 사지 꼬발이라고 다저 대세사 그런 꼬발 나를 매월 다요데 사지가 나 매랑 차례 제일이 예리 요배 예시사 답제시배 시사 그 샘도 가령시는 샘도 하정 남도 맞은 샘싸워 양당양도 차용요래 남도데 용만지 쳐다봐 차대 요래 대비송들이 샘화장 싸워 차나 그래서 샘그 맞아 직장매배 그 사지 탐지 집에 이시데起码 니제 오 진이제 작가만 하외데 기바 당보디 나이 집에 하고 요래 오 그때 치사지 샘그지도 지와도 좀 샘코나 동반이 얘는 지역바들이랑 이제 뭐다봐 로도 저건지 탑재게 즉 남쪽을 투비를 갈라고 요래 서로 따지요래 대사부터 차요래 다 이제 동방이지 이제 뭐 다봐 로도 남도 건데 저 좀 다봐 공부요 뭐 다봐 양당도 공부요라 고나 생각 네 우리 뭐 다봐리 삼토고요 말아 오 카크는 생각 뭐 다봐 남도는 시키고 다봐 이사들 차진요라 대로 차들라 얘는 우리지 생각하고서 주의하고 담지 담다 담다 직장마삼 통들을 주 요마삼 매마삼 봐자 종기의 생각하는 것들이 요마삼 매마삼 봐 담지다 더라 이건 나왔다 하고 뭐 대시기 시바사고 돼야 요래 시바사고 될때쌀 동지 들이 다다 영막 권장이요 요래 쌀막 도지청 망했다고 요래 갈타는 그요래 된도나 좀 쌀똥들이 시라고 요래 똥들 니지면 다 이시에 남치다 이시게 제발 남치다 이시게 제발데 다 남치시 니지 식송아 니지 식송 다 이시에
So then when dualistic grasping has been cleared away, so then that is what we call emptiness. And now when you habituate to that, now how you really realize that is when someone who develops immeasurable love, for them, they will then be able to let go of these coarse thoughts. But if we lack that, then actually, even though we say we are practicing Mahamudra, this kind of practice is actually rather useless and without love as the basis. So in terms of Mahamudra, we give it many different, has many different characteristics. But for example, it is also referred to as the non-dual primordial wisdom. So it is clear awareness that is also empty. And the emptiness aspect we have said is that there is no grasping at self-other duality. And then clarity is that it clearly knows its own empty space-like nature. It is fully aware of its empty nature. And that is what we call this non-dual primordial wisdom. So when there is a dualistic perception, then that is the dualistic consciousness, that is a thought. And when there is no duality, then it is primordial wisdom. Milarepa also explained the difference between those ordinary concepts and wisdoms, primordial wisdom. Actually, he said that consciousness, this dualistic consciousness and wisdom have the same nature. But the dualistic consciousness faces outward and then perceives a duality of self and other. And when you face inward and you look at it directly, it looks at itself within, then the same consciousness, the same mind is referred to as the non-dual primordial wisdom. That is like space. So it is clear and empty, and there's many definitions of this term Mahamudra, such as that it is a vast, like space, and nothing. There's nothing that exists that lies beyond it, and so on. But basically, it is the natural state of the mind, the basis, and the first understanding to be gained is that all of our mind is the same. There is no duality. And one who really has realized that will not even think of existence or non-existence. There's no thought at all. For example, you see a room filled with people, but there is no thought about that. The experience is like this awareness of wisdom is all-pervasive everywhere. It is called that primordial wisdom because it has been there since primordial times, and it is all-knowing, therefore wisdom. One example is space. So Chigden Sumgen has referred to it as this vast open space. And so in terms of space, sometimes people now ask, when has it all started? When did the self begin? Actually, the Buddha already said there is no self. So how can we say when it began? Sometimes people even say that I want to know when samsara started. The Buddha should know that, and if the Buddha wouldn't know that, then the Buddha would just be stupid and not know anything. Then I won't believe it. Actually, that is a stupid thing to say for that person, actually, because how can you ask for the beginning of something where the Buddha already had said it doesn't exist? There is no real samsara or no real self. And so, in any case, what there is this natural state of the mind that is clear and empty. And when you habituate to it, it becomes clear again and again. And then when thoughts arise again and again, it becomes defiled. So we have yesterday also mentioned that the mind, the Buddha mind, is endowed with this twofold knowledge. And one knowledge is, the first one is that one realizes that self and other do not exist. That the mind has created all of the phenomena in samsara and nirvana. And the mind who has created it all is empty of inherent nature. And everything created, the entire world and so on, is also empty because it is all a compound, therefore impermanent. And many of you have practiced or learned about the four thoughts that turn the mind. And we have heard that the universe and all beings are empty. And we can speak about that. We can say, yes, it's all impermanent. And we say that and we know that. But we don't really internalize that at all. We don't really believe it. We just actually pay lip service to that. But nobody really actually follows that. No, it's not really clear. Really, in our minds, we still hope for there to be some permanence, and we cling and hold on to things, and we don't want them to change anyways, even though we already know the four thoughts. So when you really know the mind, then you know the empty nature of things. And then there is not even a thought of existence or non-existence, permanence or impermanence. You just know that the mind is clear and empty. And so this empty, clear mind is what we refer to in different ways. For example, in the Nyingma tradition, it is referred to as Samantabhadra Yab Yom, or in the New Tantric system, it is referred to as Vajradhara. You can call it whatever. But what we really refer to here is this clear, empty, space-like awareness. Empty because there is no duality.
다 소시 샘도 샘도 나가 체메나 죽을 롱도 좀 봐야 돼. 다 죽어들이 이리 하고 그러지. 랑그 샘디 대다 나가다 차올라. 들이 다 상제 상들이 이진 상선들이 샘 나가다 차라. 사제 당보고 와 차야 돼. 죽어시 봐. 하고 그러지.
So it is empty of duality, but there is clear knowing awareness. You're fully aware of your own empty nature. And so when there is no duality, so then that is what we call the primordial wisdom of non-duality. And Milarepa had also said that when you realize that space is your mind is inseparable from space, then you have really understood the Dharmakaya. So then you finally understand the Dharmakaya. When your mind becomes like space, then you understand Dharmakaya. Then what is cleared away, Sang in Sanghi, which means Buddha, means to clear away dualistic grasping. And that's the first.
저 지마디 다디 생제 sem 공관이 사르동지 사오 하고게 딱히 중앙당 잡아서 아 그래서 좀 라면 망보여서 이나 중삼지 딱히 이런데 그 나빠사지베 다반들라 딱고 타서 잡아 나빠동 받아버리 내가 딱와게 중앙당서란 말이지 제가 타서 잡아라 이 싸기 시대 사오 시바시기 사오 하고와 되게 가만히 봐 성적 그때 가지고 생티들은 내서야 하자 내왔지 뭐 때 가지고 생각을 하시게 내와들이 자들이 들러들이 다 타마베 대화들이 보면 농족의 대화를 쓰고 오 대다 대화 비밀체 봐 죽어 대화 전부도 뒤철들이 세 라나동 야병 것도 사와 야로 동바연 섭사 동거로 대다들이 다 대화 좀 비밀체 봐요 그래서 그래서 막 도지청 이나 뒤도 못 봤어요 그래 대중한테 답이 첫 뒤나 사실 것은 우리한테 생각이 요래서.
So this is the first way to understand the Buddha. The space-like state where there is no duality, and that's the Dharmakaya. So there is, of those two kinds of knowledge, the knowledge that knows things as they are. So what you know is the empty and clear nature of the mind. There is a clear knowing capacity that knows its own empty nature. And this state of clarity and emptiness is actually what dispels all mistaken views of eternalism or nihilism. In the various different philosophical schools, there are all kinds of mistaken views, but they all are included within those two, eternalism and nihilism. And the fault of eternalism is cleared away by the empty, or the eternalism is cleared away by the empty nature of the mind. And the fault of nihilism is cleared away by the clear nature of mind. So clarity and emptiness dispel all mistaken views. So this clear and empty awareness, this emptiness and clarity, actually are not two qualities. They are one unity, and they are one wholeness. And if you always abide within this state, you are always in a state of great bliss. And that bliss is actually the natural, ongoing state of your own mind. And ordinary people actually consider the bliss that arises from sexual union as most important. But this actual natural, the bliss of your true nature, the natural state of your mind, is a blissful state that is not momentary like the ordinary bliss, but it always is there. It is the great bliss of Dharmakaya, which is also represented by the union of the deity in Yab-yum aspect. And so here then the clarity aspect of the mind is represented by the Yab, or the male, and the emptiness aspect of the mind is represented by the Yum, or the female. And so together, being a union, there is an ongoing experience of great bliss. Then in the new tantric system, this nature is referred to, or is represented by the Buddha Vajradhara that possesses 7 qualities or 7 aspects. Actually possesses many qualities, but in brief, all qualities are included within those 3, the qualities of the 3 kayas. And these are qualities that actually are inherent to your own mind.
이제 진바 이소 진바 이제 저 다른 진바 고대가 저도 너무 다음에 봐지 다 동만이 지고요래 동만이 그러면서 다지니가 나와서 좀 봐지 동만이 제 니베지마 동방이 영향 등하니 들이 라마라 섬지들이 차용을 메랑다위 시대를 라마라 메랑 중심이 차와도 혼대기 추상지 사용을 가리 사용을 사족 생고라고 했더니 롱주도 그 축구타 롱고 성교 거다신 감장미바 양 차용을 요래 들이마다 한걸 뚫고서 들이다가 다고찰 죽어서 롱고 들이 통제 꼴라 잡아 죽고지 들이다다지 랑지 동반이 하고 따라 이제 직접은 랑지 그 밤에 버신지 지와지고 사용서 내가 막게 신이 탑에 做 돈이 돌다 주 사람 용지 가리 저거면 인제 지고 살나 돈이 돌다리 다 세우는 들이 집이 로마도 왜 차거든 몇 밤에 버신지 다다 먹게긴 이제 먹미긴 이제 먹게긴 이제 우리 동네 지를 같이 빼는지 어디 동네도 없어 빼는들이 때는 오 수고를 동네 요말 빠고 우리 코 동네 요리 네발 동네 요리서 때비자기 이제 몇 밤에 빼는지 수요는 탐지를 동네가 맞아봐 요말 성지 공방 맞아봐 탐지를 이제 잡대하는지 지지에서 잡아 매봐 돈이 더 이제 니마다 저기도 맞아봐 차리 제일이 적거지 뭐 또 봐도 축구가 람지 싸워 놓고 그런지 투지 끌어 잡아라 쫓고 그런지 사실 인지 잘래더니 나과를 띵띵이 잡았다더니 다 쫓고 넘반하서더니 쫓고더니 미치고 많이 봐도 소수 적지 너는 새끼를 피바다 되게 just 사바단 지지 주의 봐서 인지서 새끼 피바다 되게 just 요체 탑지를 하지 저거같은 라고 저바트 저바고도 고요 별나 신도 못 찍대나 다시는 사기 미세레 무슨 사기 사와치게 하고래 닉스에서 뭐 실질적인 사기 사와치 너는 새끼도 피바다 되게 just 탑지 빠르가 나오서 코로데 저러서 봐 신도 못 찍게 심지 첩차만 뭐 소차 첩차만 뭐더니 마다마마이 잠시 송족제 그 요래 야 차베지과 고 차베지과 쪼고요래 쪼고 용지 지르더니 기와 쪼고 쪼고 다소 쪼고 장미 봐요래 되게 용지지나 첫뒤에 다다다 삼지들이 쪼고 용지 쪼고요래 쪼밤에 봐데 다 라마 꼬섬 사질 꼬섬 용지 꼬섬 샘직으로 참고해 다 고적고 거기 나샘 기장에 뭐 동반이래 대 축가가 요지 다리서 하고도 동반을 봐 하고도 단 데리러 오고 요지 저거 요래지 데리니들이 다 참들 지와도 딱 그렇게 되는 저거 요래지 나랑 그 샘들이 사지 거서 다 참도 다 소설 샘을 용지 갈 때 딱 제대로 되지라 이게 참요래 뭐 동반하지 라지사와 솔직히 사바는 이제 놀라지 썸근하니 투지 걸어 잡아야 돼. 솔배면 이제 제보 잡으러 따뜻히 썸을 용도 있잖아. 대 처음 맞을 때서 랑검자 양선이들이 따고 데르더니 졌다면 치바데 따동 동방지의 지는 진입을 치바데 다샘 남도 장인게 다딘이 좀 호와다 다딘이 유무바쪽 뒤에 누구 찾을 차와 이제 참하고 다진 것이 따뜻한 것으로 로도나기 시작이 진짜 심하고 약해요래 저 니부 치바죠 이제 차실 차와 배는 속자 차실 차와 등이 차실 차와 함께 이제 친구 이제 말좀 직장이야 말이야 이제가 가리고 적은 거를 되는데 성격적 받을 나도 차와 그들이 될 니니 속도들이 되게 레사 아무리 들들은 다들 코바토 그래 저바 메바들 나도 가르쳐는 모두 하는 저바 메바 식충 들들이 다 붙여 롱걸 졸들이 다시 졸바도데 다시 상상들이 바래 시바사고 되게 나도 졸터서 들다네 들다고 그래지 진심이 시바들 나도 다 졸바로 다 그래지 나도 뭐 쉽지
So we have mentioned there is these two kinds of knowledge, and so the knowledge of knowing things as they are is that you know that all phenomena of samsara and nirvana are empty, that there is no self. You know the empty nature of self and other, and all appearances, that they lack inherent existence. And then knowing the extent of things that there is, all the things, is that even though everything is empty, and still within that there is a myriad appearance of various phenomena appearing in the mind. The mind is like a mirror, the mirror like wisdom. And the various activities and things of samsara and nirvana arise. For example, the natural reflection or radiance of bodhicitta is the appearance of the limitless pure lens of Sambhogakaya, which is in union with Dharmakaya. And then impure appearances are those of the Nirmanakaya, and pure appearances of Sambhogakaya and Dharmakaya. And for the Nirmanakaya, the quality of the Nirmanakaya is that it is an all-pervasive compassion. And so actually a sign of having realized emptiness is this all-pervasive, this ongoing state of compassion, this unobjectified, all ever-present state of compassion and great love, for example, that a spiritual teacher might have. Actually, then there is no need to ask anyone about certain qualities that arise on the different stages and paths. Actually, the quality that arises is this all-pervasive love and compassion for all. So we have mentioned there's two kinds of compassion. There is the objectified compassion and the unobjectified compassion. And the objectified compassion is bound to as an object of a perceived object that suffers. So when you perceive an object that suffers, you feel compassion. But when you do not perceive an object of suffering, then there is no compassion. For example, you might not perceive that a rich person suffers, so you think that they don't suffer. But you do think that a poor person suffers or a sick person suffers, so you feel compassion for them. But for the unobjectified compassion is all-pervasive because it realizes that all beings suffer until attaining enlightenment, rich or poor. So actually it is an ongoing state of compassion that is all-pervasive, and you never separate from it, just like the sun rays never separate from the sun. So that's the quality of the Nirmanakaya. For example, when you think of a tree, for example, the tree, for example, is also like a Nirmanakaya because it brings benefit to sentient beings. Actually, it's really a Buddha emanation. It engages in Buddha activities. Lord Jigten Sumgön had said that everything that is done in the field of knowable things is done by the Buddha. And everything, therefore, that brings about the benefit of others is Buddha. Just like a tree, for example, that provides shelter in summertime when it's hot or in wintertime when it's cold, and so on. And so regarding those kayas, the empty essence of the mind is the quality of the Dharmakaya. The natural clarity is the quality of Sambhogakaya, and the all-pervasive compassion is the Nirmanakaya. And then for the Nirmanakaya, they appear in many different ways. So it's like Dharmakaya is like the sky, Sambhogakaya like the cloud, and Nirmanakaya like the rain falling down. And then the Nirmanakaya appears not just as a human being, but anywhere in the 6 realms of samsara in their particular bodies. Whoever brings about benefit and happiness of others can said to be a Nirmanakaya, just like this tree that we mentioned. Or in the Chakra-samvara practice, it is said, I am glorious Haruka, the source of benefit and happiness of all sentient beings. So the Nirmanakaya appears, for example, as a person like an incarnated Nirmanakaya, or a created Nirmanakaya, or a manifold Nirmanakaya in so many different ways. But in brief, all of these limitless Nirmanakayas come down to one single essence, and that is the quality of love, effortless love. So these qualities of the three kayas are complete within your own mind. And you can recognize it when you meditate and look at your mind. When you look at your mind and there is no thought and you rest in the space like empty nature, you can recognize this is the quality where from the Dharmakaya arises. And then there's also clear knowing, and you know that it is empty. And that is where the quality of the Sambhogakaya comes from. And then when you find that I have love for all beings, that is the quality where the Nirmanakaya comes from. So when you really look at your mind, you can see how those qualities are already complete within you. So the essence is empty, the nature is clear, and compassion is all pervasive, and that is an unbiased state of compassion. So whether or not this is accomplished is something you need to see for yourself by looking at your own mind. This is this knowing how things really are, the empty nature of things. And knowing the extent of things, all of everything that exists, is to know the subtle workings of karma, to clearly discern between wholesome and unwholesome thoughts, knowing that self-clinging leads to the 6 afflictive emotions, which lead to samsara. And you know the karmic cause for even the most subtle form of suffering. So all of that, for example, is explained in the 4 thoughts that turn the mind. So when you see, for example, a small animal, you understand even the most subtle cause for this kind of particular suffering. So there is nothing whatsoever that appears that would not depend on karma. Everything arises from karma. And so when you look at the mind, in an instant a thought arises, a subtle thought arises. And then you cling to that thought and you hold, you believe, you hold it to be true. So you act out and accumulate karma, and that is what creates samsara. If you let it be and you don't cling to the thought, no matter what thought arises, if you're able to let it go, it becomes liberated, purified. It is also called being liberated into Sambhogakaya. Liberation here is now the ability to completely have it dissolve. And that's again something you can see for yourself. Am I able to liberate those thoughts or not? And you know that by looking at whether or not your awareness is clear. And with clear awareness, you see, are thoughts still remaining in my mind or not?
선남카로 대 통역이 최고요래 대 통이 이 가지는들이 이제 송고송을 통이들이 공지나 다다다니 통지들 가지고 내라고 하고요. 오 성내로 사고 통고요. 통지 따라 되게 나도 색도고요. 들이 대식 탐나 다들 쫄람 탐지를 들이 나도 잘 탐지 하고는 대식 색도고요. 배나 다식 탐면서 이유나 다다리 제발요 사바세미 사바된 hin지 사족선을 때문에 다 당고 실내라고 실내문이 되다 제비 봐사바 제비 봐 맞지는 실내 차도고요. 나진이요래 차다니데 되게 식부터 그래 제 같이 버려야 돼. 때문에 되니다다 따와그 식탐나 되니다다 시바 고난 거 무슨 좀데 다들 야원으로 오 그런 거지 다 담도 먹가라 상지 저선지 담들 상지 쪽가리 상지 선대식 뭐 광 장마 차서 차상만이 다 선대식 뭐 상지 저대래 되게 상 첩처럼 써와대 상지라 당볼래도 다진상 이번엔 인진상 저는 니스메 비시 첩첩라도 장처 라마가 사지게 센다 라마 센다 라가 세니 저거 저장대 준 마세바 다 하고 그래 디 나도는 라마다라 신사지선 그래서 때라 토고요 베데다와 하고는 들이 뭐원이 거다 다 사자 치보다 다 오지고 다다다 뜻도 돈들이 르베 말하래 들이 다른 거 라를 있지 기초고요 대회들이 욕탈거에서 라마 축을 고발지 님이 무엇은 소 남한테 대해서 라마 사지 축을 제시해봐 다 남카고 비 양질이 줘야 라마 세다라는 셈때 줄마시 봐봐 하고는 들이다 라마라는 하세 사지에서 남한테 그 라마 축을 고발지 라마 축을해서 라마 셈때 대바 좋지는 오 라그 곰잡 또 하고서 라마 셈되고 그 셈이 라마 따와지 거리 내게 요래 니진요 말에 베르테 하고 라고 따도 어디 가다는 라그 셈 두고 고들 라마 셈때 가가며 하고 그러나 라마 축을 하고 시고데 라그 곰잡이 라그 셈고 내려때 축을 봐 하고네 오 라마 셈을 라그 셈 제발해 봐 하고 토벌이 하고나 다른 때 하고는 태소명고 태소명이 다 다른 데 빠지리 이남면 태소명고 대 그것도 사적 섬다 우사바다 이제 속다고 태소명이 태소 매와 같이 태소 매와 하고는 양 주르게 마중원들이 양 유모보고는 소용고 요래 대사들 다 쏠리고 쇼고 그러지. 쫀주 이마 저처럼 소바 쫀주.
So this is actually the second knowledge of knowing all the things that exist. Ultimately, this understands karma and therefore is able to let go of thoughts and emotions. And so, in any case, in the beginning, it is important for us to understand that the nature of mind is like space. And if you, as Trygden Sumgön had said, if when you see it, first you see it like when you meditate on that. Now, there's different individuals in any case. Some people see it very easily. They just meditate and they feel, oh, the mind is really clear. It is like space. And then they are able to let go of thoughts when they arise. And then even in their day-to-day conduct, they are able to recognize all those coarse and subtle thoughts arising. So they are able to let go. And then there are some who cannot let go of their thoughts, who can, the thoughts do not leave their mind. And in that case, then we have to make a greater effort in cultivating immeasurable love, bodhicitta. So we always speak about practice shamatha, practice calm abiding. But actually, this really actually requires, like, as a prerequisite, to have actually developed this boundless, immeasurable love. Without such love, actual calm abiding will not really happen. Because when there is no boundless love, then there still is a grasping at a self-other duality, a self-clinging. And because of that, you will not be able to let go of all these thoughts and afflictive emotions. So that's a really important point. Now, if you have developed immeasurable love and then are able to rest within the view, then you're able to let go of all those thoughts and emotions, and then you become like a king in your practice. That's the best practice. So when we take the refuge vow, for example, we are introduced to the cause of Buddhahood, that all beings possess that. It is Buddha nature, and that is like completely pure water. Or in the supplication we say, I supplicate to bodhicitta, the actual guru. So when we attain Buddhahood, this Buddhahood, this term is Chang Chop, and Chang, in the beginning, the first thing that needs to be purified, which is Chang, is self-grasping. And then the second thing that needs to be purified is the dualistic grasping. and chup is to master. So what is then really fulfilled is, or mastered, is this non-dual primordial wisdom. And that is then when you realize that my mind, the Guru's mind, and the Buddha's mind are actually one and the same. They are one uninterrupted mental continuum. And then we can actually say, like Thigten Somgön had said, I'm a yogin who has realized my mind, the Guru's mind, and the Buddha's mind to be one. And then we have really realized this Svabhavika Kaya, or we call it Mahamudra, and we give it different names. But gradually, as you habituate, you will gain trust in your own nature. And then in the end, the Drikung Master Dhammaratsa had said, in the end, when you realize that the Guru is the Dharmakaya, that is actually the perfect devotion of non-duality. So the Dharmakaya is that the state that is beyond birth and death, like space. And that is the nature of the Guru's mind, the nature of your own mind, a single mental continuum. The Guru always abides within that state. The Guru does not grasp a perceived duality. And since your mind is connected to the Guru's mind, if you meditate on that, you realize just that. So when you realize Dharmakaya, what you realize is that there is no difference between your own mind and the Guru's mind. And while we do understand that, we also have doubts about that. We are not so sure. And that is the actual obscuration. It is our doubt. And for as long as there are doubts in our mind, that means that we need to make an effort to develop the relative bodhicitta, to make an effort in cultivating immeasurable love and compassion. And then for some others, doubt is not the biggest problem. Maybe they don't really have a lot of doubts, but they are lacking diligence in practice. And because of that, again, afflictive emotions will arise. So then those individuals then need to make a greater effort in practicing with more diligence.
양소리 발라들이 다다 내 당보 통과 탑지게 다사지서 올라왔던 겁나 러저가 맞췄는 게 되니 배 갖고 요래서 러저가 맞춰서 사코로 도 그러더니 이제 초가를 요마가를 하고 말이 또 생각 잡다기 초코도 되는 게다 센데 요모 왕도 똑그러더니 새로 다른 제로 요말 대답을 찾고 요랬지 대답지게 다들 레좀제 제자다 좀제 걸어 싸는 것다네 딱하네 대화가 적하네 동이 쪽에 요는 랍사티 동이 파종이 줬어가도 뭐야 그거 보고 동에 요나 다들 담을는 촉과자전 작학하신 촉과자가도 내가 잡조가 같이 거지 동이 같이도 대답지로 싸는 땅 대답지로 싸는 땅 대답지 싸와 가리리 가래스를 고소 촉과작거요. 가래스를 동해야지. 다 진짜 해당 차도 대일에 지왕하마를 내사 내냠도사 대답지 사차 찍은 좀 들이 다 고소 찍줄 내지 내 맞이 받으면 최소 별로 들이 마음에 자사바로는요. 다 세이동이 찍 세고를 레벨을 세트고요 말이 세고를 막 자사를 찍 세고 레기서는 좋고요. 주제꼴로 삶았다, 주제꼴로 삶았다는 것들이 원래 희바 등에대도 짜와서 철들었더니 세상자 차도 세상자 차도 가도 세상자 차도 소설도 다 등에대다 보면도 오 지양하면 레세서 마사벨레스 오늘 따뜻하다 동해지 우리가 곰자주 파송가 동해지 락심도 대답을 동해지 수지도 유목에서도 유목 가리지도 동아 가리도 리제는 유목과 톡톡 무지네 제스를 제법까지 다 동해지 지고 유목 지지도 사람다 다산 침반 인을 제 예쁜 침반들 두개 걸어 싸움도 거예요 두개 걸어 싸움도 유목과들 다 미치기 시장 나오나 미치 자리라 시장 자리 상관도 미치 자리 뭐 시장 유다 요거도 고 상쾌 까들이 때 냠니 싸워는 요거 말이지.
So from a practical perspective now, for a beginning practitioner, when it is said that when we first start with our meditation practice and we try to practice Mahamudra, our mind is like a mountain river that rushes down a gorge. So it is very difficult in the beginning. So this river takes all kinds of earth and rocks and twigs and so on with it, so the water becomes really murky and we can't really see clearly. We can't see anything. So just like that, our mind is very much disturbed by all kinds of thoughts and emotions, so we cannot see clearly at all. So in that case, in the beginning, what we need to reflect upon is first the workings of karma. What is the cause of happiness? And for example, when a problem arises, directly let it be and rather look at the cause. What has caused that problem? Or think about the suffering in the world, suffering of hunger and thirst and poverty, or wars in different countries, or refugees having to escape wars and how much they suffer. So why does all that happen? Why, for example, do people fight in wars? Why there is so much misery? It is because of hatred. It is because of jealousy. It is because in previous lives those beings have accumulated that kind of karma together, and now in this life they're meeting together in a similar place where they fight again. It is said that if karma has not been created, a certain condition cannot be encountered. For example, even if you have 100 soldiers, for example, fighting, if one does not have the karma to be killed, then it will not happen. Everything depends on karma. So think about karma and think about the root of karma that is within the mind. It all comes from especially anger, hatred, jealousy. And then where are those afflictions? Actually, they are in my own mind too. But then I don't have that kind of suffering. It's because you have not accumulated that kind of karma in a previous life. But then often also it is the case that we cannot deal with even our own problems. Leave alone meditating. We cannot even let go of those miserable thoughts. We cannot deal with our difficulties. So then you have to consider who has created all of that, all of these problems. It was created by the afflictive emotions. And so in that way, recognize the 6 afflictive emotions that correspond to whatever problem or suffering you encounter. Recognize self-grasping. So of the 2 kinds of knowledge, the knowledge that knows all things in their extent, here it's important to think about karma and to recognize the afflictive emotions. For example, you get angry at a person. Then ask yourself, who is my real enemy now? Is it the person or is it my anger? Then, of course, an ordinary person will think that, of course, it's the person who is my enemy. We justify our anger towards that person. And so for as long as you're holding on to these kind of views, no matter what you do, actually, practice has not yet happened.
reinschauen in sich selbst und diese Gefühle entdecken. Und wenn man gerade kein Leid hat und keine Not, dann ist es erkennen, ich habe dazu nicht die Voraussetzung geschaffen, es liegt keine Ursache dafür vor, habe eine Handlung in der Weise nicht begangen. Wenn aber da in uns Schmerz, Leid ist, das nicht weggehen will, trotz aller Beobachtung, dann fragt man sich, woher kommt dieses Leid? Dieses Leid hat seine Ursachengeschichte in einer Handlung, die wiederum in einer solchen Gefühlswallung wie Ärger, Gier und so weiter geboren wurde. Das alles gilt es zu beobachten und zu verstehen, dass wir in unserem eigenen inneren Erleben alle von Arten dieser störenden Gefühle in uns haben, die auch draußen in der Welt zu beobachten sind. Mit dieser Vorbereitung, diese Ursache und Wirkung im Feinsten zu beobachten, das ist ein Teil der Vorbereitung, die notwendig durchzuführen ist. Und das ist auch zugleich, das haben wir gesehen, der Blick der Buddha-Weisheit, die die feinsten Verästelungen von Ursache-Wirkung geschehen gewahr werden kann.
대라 강의들이요. 저 따위 집아, 진심은 집아도 구독 점주리 시바디다다 강의들이요. 다 돈담 된지 성격. 구독도 점주리 서와 매바 저 가디리 다지 이런 무보단 천만 집아도 요니 정대 가다 설아이나 점주리 서와 매바래. 지금도 따뜻하다 레주리를 찾습지 고래. 레주리를 찾습지. 배나 미탑지 메소드를 가요래. 메소드를 걸 메소드 코드 첩첩 가봐는 좋고요래. 시바도 그 메소드 요티 가는 메소드 성우들. 오 메소드 성우다고 자고. 대답을 잡았잖아. 준비해지 시성잖아. 다다가 너무 다니 제타봐. 마음과 누게 저 뉴뭐 하고 왔다. 배는 세상 집었삼게 미 서라지게 내 가진 제용만 mesela 세상은 자 세상 가르쳐 그만도 왔다 레도 세상 마음이 저 제일 시와게 세상 문제를 뭐지 강한 말이 세상 문제 사파차를 뭐지 그 사자쳐 버리는 저 세상 코라는 뭐지 나한테 거기다 사자쳐 뭐다 하잖아 세상들 남상 초등 남정이 로요래 제일 대사를 보면 처럼 저 사원을 나올 가래 배도를 남지요. 야레 당보다 뭐 준비 쌓는 맛이든 처럼 턱 야다당 내가 당파 양자 처럼 차로 제를 봤습니다. 레 당보 바자지 차당자서 처럼 턱 다가 준비 쌓는 맛이는 제가 사자치 보고 이제 또다 강은 이런 말이 제가 상마다 니를 속자고 레주를 속자고 그랬지.
So this knowledge that knows all things in their extent, here we need to reflect on especially the workings of karma on the relative level. And actually ultimately the two truths are in union, but on the relative level karma is unfailing. And when is that time of the relative truth? It is for as long as we perceive a duality of self and other, and we believe in the inherent existence of our perceptions, of our various appearances. And so whoever sees reality in this way, for them karma is unfailing. So in any case, now is the time that we all need to pay very careful attention to the subtle workings of karma, cause and effect. For example, everyone likes flowers. We cut them, chop them off, and then we take them home, put them in our house. Someone who really understands actually will not pay so much attention to the flower, but rather to the seed, and will make sure that the seed doesn't get spoiled. So if you're able to observe karma, if you clearly understand karma, then you will be able to accept any difficulty you experience now And you will be able to avoid more suffering in the future by recognizing the afflictive emotions as the very causes of your own suffering. And then when anger arises, for example, you will immediately recognize it. And then no matter what other people do to you, whether they insult you or offend you and so on, you will recognize my true enemy is not that person, but it's my anger. So you will be careful when it comes to acting out and karma. You will recognize the anger and not even think about the other person. So such a person really has a basis for practicing Mahamudra. And then you would look at the nature of anger and meditate and see how the anger, like a wave on water, dissipates. So for a beginning practitioner, the mind is more like an ice block. And that ice block is melted gradually through contact with hot water. So there's also such a path. But a beginning practitioner now is someone who doesn't understand karma, and their mind is like ice. And so when many ice blocks are floating around, they bump into each other and there is always some conflict and suffering. So there is 3 levels to our practice, and so the first one is the beginning stage, where the mind is like a mountain river rushing down a gorge. That is when there's conflict and there is disturbance and we don't understand karma. And so for as long as we don't really understand karma, basically, actually our practice of Mahamudra is really in a way pointless. And so in order to really be able to have a basis for practicing Mahamudra, we therefore first need to make an effort in developing love and compassion and understanding clearly the workings of karma, cause and effect.
Deswegen ist solange es solches hartes, verbissenes Festhalten vorliegt, ist es die Erfahrung des Anfängers, die dann, so wie beschrieben ist, beim Betrachten des eigenen bewussten Erlebens, ist es so, als ob da ein Sturzbach in großer Heftigkeit auf Steine verwallt und aufschäumt. Darin Mahamudra, darin die Grundbeschaffenheit unseres Bewusstseins üben zu wollen, ist schwierig und wahrscheinlich aussichtslos. Dann ist es viel besser, an dieser Stelle zuallererst Liebe und Mitgefühl zu üben, um in dieser Herzenswärme die Herze unserer Eisklumpen zu schmelzen. Das ist der erste Schritt. Es gibt 3 Schritte, einen anfänglichen, einen mittleren, einen fortgeschrittenen. Und die erste Situation ist die diesem Sturzbach gleichen, wo Liebe und Mitgefühl das Hauptziel der Übung sein müssen.
Jimbriga kola samlatani, tiri sabte da pojaje, tiri sabatri yurikiri, tiri ta yamsarana tisa ruru chagritira, baad de cho kaga tarjibaat, tiri jimbriga yuchigilezi jesala, tiri tata samte da pojaje zuba le ngujere, ta samte da ranga soda wazi yinti, tiri zuba kumya leble, tiri zuba ta jinshi payo pa jimbriga chebo yore, sanje karje toji shide payo yinti, payo baadire, 바위가 여기 시합 싸워서 사자집에 따와 집에 시합 대 바위가 대 오살라 대게 라도르데 만나고 오데 유바르데 동게 저리 하고 근데 sabte 지금 따와 가르다고 요리 별이 거요 가보기를 삼바다 진짜 따고 자고 유바르데 돌고 요리 대 따와 저리들이 라왕 대 자요가 차연 거예요 다 유모가 소라를 안 잡잖아 샤바지 다 하고서나 오 가다 고로라서 나타내는 고로대도 양대 실래 이 양대 유는 뭐 맞잖아 내디도 소제들 들이다가 내디도 좋다 라면 매일 내디 제거를 사자 치고 찍고라고 고마셨다 돈이 이제다 피도 쳐보여 빨리 추억가 다리바 점들이 치고 지나 들은 나와 사집에 축가를 냐들랑냐 되니 받쳐 보여래 들루루 차원을 너는 몇이었다 삼대 요바 요바 대답도 차원을 하기라 주고 가래 주고 오 란도는 뒤에 지도는 지는 삼대에 란도를 샤트 나도 삼대 답고지 라고 소리 삼대 매진 삼대를 라는 패기도 하고 그 삼대 소원지다 보자 저거요 배나 무슨 매직에 랍상 잡아서 톡지 매다 세우나 가서 살 다섯 못다 무슨 그만서 땅용 땅대로 다시 제가 단가 탑 가고 가서 좀 버렸어 줄래 그 세고나 몇 살아요 소잡 더만 잡고답지 약하는 세도래 그래 그래서 보러 세도 그래 약하면 저거 세서 배도요 말았지 내가 세고는 배도면 없어 내가 세마고는 소소 랑소를 펴면 남도 다 잡아갖고 살 마음에 잡아만 보고 다 잡혀요 뒤는 나 타성 내가 세마들 그 세도 요바상 아세부터 다 뒤는 소소가 삼티도 말할 수 있지 버리도 상하다야 매서 터봤어요 다른 그 삼티도 저거 콩도 말아봐 그거 세고 내가 가서 탐부터 그 조선지 야음을 라블 콜 사바든지 코긴 가실 공이 손으로 때 뒤서고 말이 싸는 뒤서고 말이 소소는 뒤면서 이나 랍상 고조 뒤서고 저들로만 랍스티나 세다고 지르더니 무슨 타야 탈마 보타 테스트에서도 집들에 돈도 밑에 고조 말하나 가시 줄래가 세 손나요 세서 줄 루즈고 세 손나 세드 세요 말이 살지에서 막가 사지에 세요 말이 다때 루데 배워도 파스오는 사지 때려 코를 랍 치보면은 거기다 여기 세기 세다고 다 사지 치보 터버렸다 누가 치보 터버렸대 진짜 가는데 별로 뉴와 같이 촉치나요 제 조서로 대답을 고베 야 제로서 초가가 다시 봐서 볼까라 일단 유무바디 조서로 실제로 하고는 뒤쳐왔지 다 잡지에서 조반이와 들라기를 내고요래 들들들이 공야지로요래
So if you really think about karma, then you will know how to hold on to sustain love, so you don't lose love. So when you then develop love and you cultivate immeasurable love, then whatever practice you then engage in on the basis of that, your mind will be at ease, relaxed. And then you come to the second of those three steps, which is, and then in the middle, the mind is like the river Ganges. It flows gently. So here you have already now developed trust in karma, and with that you are able to sustain love. So here patience has arisen. Here you think, even at the cost of my life, I will protect my love. So you're patient and you are mindful and conscientious. Actually, the Buddha also had said, what is emptiness is actually conscientiousness. It is clear like vigilance, a clear awareness. And that is actually Mahamudra. So conscientiousness, this vigilant mind, clearly knows unmistakably what to do and what not to do. Clearly discerns between the causes of suffering and happiness. When an afflictive emotion arises, it recognizes this is the cause of suffering. And also it knows how to sustain love. So here there is still some acceptance and rejection, knowing that I need to hold on to love and I need to let go of the afflictive emotions. So here at this stage, you have already gained some freedom. And even if it sometimes happens that you become carried away by afflictive emotions, you will recognize that later and then confess For example, when you got angry yesterday, then today you might confess that. But this is something, to really get there, it really requires you to train and to practice continuously and for a very long time. And that is why in the root verses it also says you have to make an effort in the stages of the path. And we cannot only directly go and make an effort in the practice of Mahamudra or emptiness. It will be fruitless. So in the middle, the mind flows gently like the river Ganges. So here you trust in karma, and then whatever Buddhist practice you engage in will become much more powerful, fruitful. And the mind is much more relaxed already. And that is because you have developed patience that protects love. And actually here, how it arises is that you actually understand here that wishing for the benefit of others is actually my own greatest benefit. So therefore, cultivating love and patience is my own greatest benefit. And therefore you protect it even at the cost of your life. And then, for example, imagine how would you feel if you suddenly would be at gunpoint and some criminal would threaten you with a gun. Actually, that's something I was considering myself before, and naturally anybody would respond, I would try anything to save my own life. But then actually, if you have the karma to be killed, then there's nothing really that you can do about it. For example, even a very protected king is assassinated in his palace, even though there are a lot of bodyguards. So then that is of no benefit, right? So if you have the karma, then there's nothing you can do about it. If you do not have the karma to be killed, it will not happen. For example, in my own case, when I was in war, there were bullets and weapons flying out from the airplanes in the sky, and soldiers were attacking us on the ground and so on. And still, nobody could kill me. I'm still alive because I didn't have the karma. So just because somebody wants to kill me doesn't mean that they can kill me if I don't have the karma. But I felt that what's most important in the midst of all of this is that I do not lose my love. For example, when some people, for example, bring to mind the three jewels instead of getting angry. When there's a fight and you get angry, then ideally, of course, you would feel love and compassion for the other person. But even that's sometimes hard, even for myself in the past. But we can think of the three jewels. For example, I'm thinking of Tara. And by thinking of Tara, for example, she had saved my life many times already. If I get angry, on the other hand, then both of us will go to the lower realms. So in brief, do not get angry. If you have the karma to be killed, it is only the body that is killed. The mind cannot be killed. The Buddha also said that. Love cannot be killed too. And then when you die and the body separates from the consciousness, actually what you're bringing with you, that love is actually more valuable than gold. It is extremely valuable in the future. Also, it is said that, for example, if you're able to liberate, let go of a very powerful, very strong afflictive emotion, then very quickly your meditation practice enhances. So just like that, if you are able to even give your life for the sake of not losing your love, it's like paying back a huge karmic debt.
nangla kange mele ya pablo kange mele lena nasamele selme 동에 mele 망고 요래 잡을리는 투바 같이 있잖아요. 로바 카시를 양 대답 동에 만용이 요래 롱바 진을 초바전을 몇 제를 강이 만종래 되게 저 거로 상무들이 사지가 동에 시발사 금좀 왕와사데 동에 참치 저들하게 유모가된 거지 들었더니 나사데 물린지 타고 요래 그래서 소탑진이 유모바 톡들 맞으게 동에 이거 럭스치 말 차하기 요 말이 대무지들이 랑이 유모가 뜻이 무슨 타고 요래 제 무슨 들었더니 레사고 요래 열지다라 차도 먹지 리셈 먹지 야 랑게 세나다 때라서 봐 요주를 탑시를 하지 그들이 왕을 나는 뭐 무엇이라 들이 바로 조가가 다지 바로 들이 며칠 내가 싸워하는 취지들 가리스는 그걸 후차고 요래 그래서 바로 조가가 다지 바도 다 지들 뒤에 그냥 레점비만 보듯이 따로도 술을 보여 말이 좀 제시했다. 너나 저 너를 차와들 진짜 그래. 유모바 대리해서 뭐더니 저 라주를 봐 대무지나. 다 뛰어들어 탑을 가지고도 다시 사자서 보고 그래 야 유모바 제법까지 락상 맛이 참 호로시 보러 오나 호로를 나올 거리. 나 호로도 요리지 고야 동서 보여만. 저런 코가 코로들 항상 우리 코 투기 치지 나가 코로로 고사에 코로로 뭐에 배게서 다 유몽을 사자치고 고시 세상 거서 찌라 세상 라차를 사자치고 고는 지금 서로 동고 말이야 유모가 장이 유모 피 노 가서 제외 피 맞다 되게 노 맞지 유모가 나또 가야 줘 유모가 서로 소화치 벌레로 하고 와서도 시바사도 쳐달라 별이 민족이 야 다들이 말을 곰잡이들이 두바로 좀지 따와 사자체 뭐 뭐가 나로 주도 두바로 좀 거도 로용들 다 말을 바꾸는 곰잡대 그 사람들 로용들 딱 가지 말을 너그 요래 같이 대파 요걸 때로지라 다 니가 냐빠지 차고 들이 왜 사자체 뭐 차고 요래 대다외에 초가가 달리 봐 소가됐다 고함만 보여 줄람을 꺼내서 거요에 줄람 때들이 사자체보다 루반 들어왔지 루고 요래 남지라 다 나니 사자체 보려면 그냥 남미지라 산지 루바 가리는 지를 파시 쪽다 냐서네나 이제 초소로 보는 양 파시 쪽 이라도 맞아 레시 작고 요래 놀러 사 염리에 나또 도도도 가지 살구나. 그 정말 따와서 들면서 사실 들고 오 소파 말이지. 근데 이 봐서 오고 말이야. 다 사자집에 들고 사대양 보고 막 오 나또 셔서 다 나또 그 pengi 요래. 가지고 막그 송거리 요래. 유몽거랑지 시다나 동아도 됐어 그 잠소이. 유몽거랑지 하고도 매 폐기도 없어. 들이 레지 다 이싱아를 멘타로 들이 다버들이 다 벌도 조가가 다기 봐 이 책이 양당양들이 당하다 다디다 되어 차서 만하면 배 갖고 있어 다 되어 다 울람 유르보를 사자쳐 뭐냐면 이제 토성아 산지단기 다고 요 말이지
Second, we have said that in the middle the mind flows gently like the river Ganges, and so here we are liberating the afflictions into primordial wisdom, and all feelings and so on, emotions dissolve. And so here you have recognized the importance of love and patience, and it remains within your mind, and so your practice improves for this reason. And so then suffering still arises. All of us experience suffering. But in that moment, it is important to recognize the afflictive emotion that has led to that suffering. And that we can only understand if we understand karma. For example, there are some people in the world who are wealthy, who can help a lot of people with their wealth. Some people have not much difficulties, for example, with their families or financially. Some people are never sick or do not experience mental suffering and so on. And even though there is a lot of wars in certain countries, there are some people in there who are not affected by it. So when we see all that, we should think about the causes. The Buddha had said first, you must recognize suffering, and then you must abandon the origin of suffering. Recognizing the origin of suffering means that you recognize the afflictive emotions. Everything has a cause. And basically all illness and all suffering and so forth is caused by the 6 afflictive emotions. But there is no suffering that is not caused by that, subtle or coarse. So recognize the afflictive emotions. And when you recognize them, then everything becomes much easier. When you really recognize your afflictive emotions, then you will not get so jealous or competitive or stingy or deceitful or pretenseful towards others, or you naturally will not give rise to those coarse afflictions. And so here the mind flows gently like the river Ganges, because you recognize the afflictive emotions. And if you recognize them, you can much more easily let go of them. And then whatever you do in the mundane world or in the Dharma, you do it with a relaxed state of mind. Here the crucial point is the understanding of karma, that even the smallest problem that you experience has a cause, and it is an afflictive emotion within your mind. And knowing that, then you must find a method to overcome those afflictions. And so that is now, for example, the practice of Mahamudra. When an afflictive emotion like anger arises, then you recognize the anger, and actually then you will also feel even grateful for the person who made you angry, because actually the anger is still there, but it was hidden there, so you never saw it, and the other person actually helped the anger surface. He triggered the anger, so it surfaced. Now you see it. And then you will feel, I need such a trigger actually. I need it to surface. So such people are really very beneficial actually. So then when you really know how to practice Mahamudra, then you would look at your anger, and when you look at its nature directly, it's already gone, it's already lost. And then there is no need even to think about it in this way. There is no need to think about its good or bad or benefit and harm and so on, virtue, non-virtue. Just naturally, whatever thought or affliction arises, by just recognizing it, it will dissipate, just like a wave on water. Milarepa had said that the view is Mahamudra, the meditation are the 6 dharmas of Naropa, and the conduct is one of equal taste. And that Milarepa had practiced. For example, normally he stayed in his cave meditating, but sometimes he would go around begging for alms, and sometimes people would scold him and beat him even, and sometimes people would worship him and have devotion. For him, it would all be the same. He had an equal taste. And that equal taste then really becomes Mahamudra. So here, this second point where the mind flows gently like the river Ganges, it can be understood in many different ways, but it mainly refers to how we behave ourselves or how we feel in our daily conduct. And so in the daily conduct, Mahamudra is very strongly connected to patience. In the conduct, in our day-to-day activities, we need to be patient. For example, with our family members, we need to be patient with them, love them, practice the 6 paramitas, or offer the 7 branches, and so on. So basically, whenever like a solid thought arises, a strong thought arises, ideally you tame that thought with the view, and if you cannot, then you tame it with love, knowing that all beings have been my parents. But you only need one or the other, you don't need both at the same time. Of course, if you're able to liberate the thought with Mahamudra, then you don't even have to think about love. Then there's no thought in your mind. And regarding that, actually, the past Kagyu masters have said when you know the nature of the afflictive emotions, then all suffering becomes an ocean of nectar. So when you know the nature of afflictive emotions, then actually they are of great benefit, a great enhancement to your practice. And also then that is what we refer to as the 5 wisdoms and so on. So regarding these words, the mind flows gently like the river Ganges. There many questions always arise, but basically the experience that you gain here is that even though in the past you encountered more difficulties, the mind was more disturbed and restless, now the mind is in a state of ease and very much relaxed. But of course, in order to get there, it's important to not be overly ambitious, but that really requires some time of practice. You need to practice consistently, continuously over a long period of time in order to come to such a state. You cannot expect to start out the practice and instantly just become a Buddha like that.
Mein Üben ist dann das Üben der 6 Dharma des Naropa und das Handeln ist das von einem Geschmack geprägt ist. Wenn solche Art die Einsicht, das Leersein aller Dinge sich paart mit der Übung des Dharma und Naropa, dann war das Handeln Milarepas geprägt von der Erfahrung des einen Geschmacks, wie es heißt. Ein Geschmack heißt, Milarepa hat sich von Zeit zu Zeit den unterschiedlichen Bedingungen ausgesetzt. Da waren Leute, die haben ihn verdroschen, haben ihn beschimpft, andere haben ihn gelobt und gepriesen. So, das alles eigentlich keinen Unterschied ausmacht. Dass das eine keinen Schaden hervorruft, das andere keinen Nutzen. Das ist die Grunderfahrung, die sich darin widerspiegelt. Dann, wenn wir im eigenen Bewusstsein erleben können, dass was auch immer da aufsteigt und aufscheint an Gedanken und Gefühlsstörungen, es hat weder einen Schaden, den es anderen tut, noch bringt es einen bestimmten Nutzen, ist in sich selbst befreit. Das ist auch der Moment, der wie ja ein gemächlich dahinfließender Flussstrom bezeichnet wird. Und immer ist es zugleich das Erkennen von, dass hier ein Vertrautsein ist mit dem Weg, mit dem Mittel und das, was an Erfahrung, an Liebe bereits in uns entstanden ist, mit Geduld bewahrt werden kann. Die Kraft der Geduld zu erkennen. Diese mittlere Erfahrung des gemächlichen Flussstroms ist mit der Einsicht in Ursache und Wirkung, Liebe und Mitgefühl und mit der Übung der Geduld, des Duldenkönnens verbunden, sogar bis hin mit dieser Erfahrung von Mahamudra, wo sich Gefühlswallung in sich selber auflöst.
대대다다 이 토토리 곰 야요리 대 피토시가 요메 지체메 공부 말아베 사자집에 따와자 하 고니 되지 사자집에 따와 시바데 강이 봐요 봐지 똥마지 봐요나 봐가리 나또 남으로 초바죠 나산 신신 시바데리 대 누구는 나와 라데 체르데 다 몸도 터니 돌아 가는 소라 사라 돌아 나와 가르쳐 대르지 나또 가르쳐서 자당 또봐 차라 가르쳐서 대 하고는 뜻이 답이 리사 철시 왔는 애들이 무보다 지금 나와 샤로 대사비 나또 리로 고를 때 이제가 나또 시시 진짜 박차 저기 실도 고 박차 이거니 처럼 이제 시고 유치에 배변하면 제거해서 너는 나와 라도 제지
And so some people just practice for a short time, for a short while, and then they just let it be again. So that is of no benefit. Practice must be done over a long period of time and continuously. Like Milarepa, who had practiced and realized the view of Mahamudra. And that state is a state of an ongoing state of vigilance or conscientiousness, which we have said is emptiness. And so what you're vigilant of is in your day-to-day activities and so on, all the thoughts and all the feelings and so on that arise. You clearly recognize them, and you're taking the appearances and whatever arises as you go about your day-to-day activities, you take that as the path. So whatever thought and feeling, subtle and coarse forms of attachment and aversion, whatever appearance, whatever you see and so on, all of it, you recognize it. And that is just like you're like dissolving salt in hot water. It's all grasping at an inherent existence to what you see, and what arises will dissolve. And so here you have to work with each and every thought that arises.
다는 같이 있잖아. 별미도 참아 대신이 뭐요래서 다지는 예비신이 사지를 좀 장내 봐요. 마다버때서 유모만 쌉톡마도 가까이 오면 사지에서 지금 가까이 오면 말이지. 때때 유모벌에 보차 쌉톡을 되게들이 사지에서 지기 너는 말을 쌈들이 가서라들이 강도 성향 딱 보시 때에서 그래서 때때 다낭도 다들이 과야도 딱딱하고요. 너도 꼬바를 집었다마지. 작동 소코스 집었다마들 때 칼라사를 이 칼라를 차당 똑바만고 제 양배나 내 셈매 좀 때라서 봐. 이 죽고 배배 꼬들이 배라고 사. 영 사드 바페 때서도 저때 너 차에 뭐 하고는들이 로장 그 사람들 가리나 갑자기 차당 똑바 파도 되고 배는 싸면 이제 똑바 매와 그들이 가리 통다 때서 감정이 좋지 몇번 맞잘 몇번 맞 요번 방지 다니서 말하와지 그 소악거리 주나 이 강을 장 다니서 말하와지 들자니 제가 때 같이 보여래 장 다치가 많이 방이 다치가 많이 봐 타이 봐봐 좀 사지 좀 이제 대사지나 그때 봐요라는 거 보여래 가라 여기 차라 가리네 하장 공치부터 아침을 많이 하장 탈치부터 봐 많이 봐봐 대사를 우람 탑지들 고면 좀 가라 우람 가라사 이렇게 너도 고발 싶었다마 작동 총콜도 싶었다마서.
So you work with each thought that arises, and in this way, meditating with each thought, the samsaric habitual karmic imprints dissolve more and more, like an ice block melting. And so for this, we need to practice continuously and over a long period of time. And so this is called taking appearances as the path. And so then in your day-to-day conduct, you should sustain mindful awareness. And one way to do that, for example, is to practice the Om Ahung Vajra recitation. So you sustain awareness in whatever you do, and whoever you meet, you see them as pure, without thinking that they're good or they're bad or they're different and so on. They all have Buddha nature. It is that as you go about your day-to-day activities, that is the instruction for going around becoming a circumambulation. So everyone you meet, you see them as like a Daka or Dakini or Buddhas. In the secret mantra, we are taking, in this way, we are taking a pure perception as the path. The mind becomes pure. You see all as Buddhas, having Buddha nature. So there seems to be some slight temporary differences between, for example, the spiritual teachers whose minds temporarily are more pure, and then there is some who temporarily have some thicker obscurations and afflictions. But in their essential nature, there is no difference between Buddhas or sentient beings. So in that way, wherever you go, it appears like a pure land. Everything is seen in a pure way. And in that way, seeing it this way, actually you're purifying your own obscurations. So going around becomes a circumambulation. And these words actually come from Milarepa. And then also he said that, and then eating and drinking become a Ganachakra feast offering. For example, normally when we eat something, we develop a lot of thoughts of attachment and aversion. We like certain things, we don't like other things. So if you have this equal taste, then you will eat anything. If it's good for your body, you will eat it, even if you don't like it. And if you really like something, you will recognize that this is desire. So you will be able to equalize it all. And eat whatever is good for you without any dualistic grasping of pure and impure, and pleasant and unpleasant, and so on. So basically, you will take whatever you get. And also it is said you should not try to get what you don't have, and you should not abandon what you do have. Also, the Buddha had said that in your practice it is important that you do not fall into two extremes. So you should not fall into the extreme of self-mortification or the extreme of self-indulgence, not too good and not too bad. That is actually the Buddha's middle way of mindfulness. And that refers to anything in our lives, whether it is food or clothing or money or other possessions and so forth. It shouldn't be too, we shouldn't neglect ourselves or self-mortification, but also we should not indulge too much, no matter what it is about, food and so forth, but always go the middle way. So eating and drinking becomes a Ganachakra feast offering. Going around becomes a circumambulation.
자, 때라서 봐서 쇼치는 들이대. 근데 속차대 답지 고소 답지를 유무 버릴 때 누가 버릴 때 속차 답지 되게 무슨 죄를 요래. 나사서는 버리더라고 요래. 이런 때 답지 sem시와 대화 차로 참아들이 촬영을 요래. 사족sem지 우리들이 대답지 나사들을 용도로 버답지 속차대. 우리들 셈카가 말이 고소 동부치보다 속보들이나 라고 생각을 달고 차대요래. 들들이 라고로 라 강매 받들이 다다가 영마들이 다 봉카 집지 sab들 라데 누구 라 강대 왔나지. 라다 레주 쳐벌까지 셀로라게 이제 샘들이 사바체미가 유리지요나. 뭐 사마시지 차고 요래. 들이 라또 찍찍 톡 들이들 용뭐지요나. 들이 차랑 타봤는 게 들이 나사래 요거에 피피보다 뭐지 삼제다 단디 이거 뭐 단디 쳐다 속체는 때 이거보다 속체는 거래. 저는 뭐 어쩌려들이 속마대야 되나. 사바체미 주로 참아라래. 들이 사바오 거로 강니 참아 칼라트 요래. 대sob들이 저도시라 미라 차거들이 라사들이 뭐 속고 요래. 이렇게도 속어야 요래배 대다 대 칼라사바가 양치시 빠요 속지를 다들이 라사마요레스 저거를 많이 가서 레지들 되니 좀 강체 본나기를 강대에서 라시바데스 고토 사마 사십세요레 데리다고 살라들이 자동 손고리 집어다 말로요.
So regarding this instruction that eating and drinking becomes a feast offering, it is said also by science, actually, that within one's body there are many different life forms, like they call it different bacteria and bugs and so on. And basically, they say that there are beneficial bacteria and that there are harmful bacteria, and that we need to increase our beneficial bacteria, and that we need to eat all kinds of medicine to kill the harmful bacteria. But actually, the harmful bacteria are actually related to our own afflictive emotions. And depending on which afflictive emotion it is, it leads often to illnesses of either heat or cold and so on. Actually what happens is that when we become afflicted, then this kind of stirs up these harmful bacteria, and then they create all kinds of sickness. And then that's what we call bacteria or some life form. But actually, when your mind is in a state of peace and happiness, then those bacteria in your body will be in a natural, balanced state and not really create a lot of illness. Someone who has bodhicitta, for example, might also experience less illness. So actually, those bacteria's minds and your own mind, actually, you're not separate. You're like one big tree, and those bacteria are also part of that tree. We say in the Vajrayana, for example, your body is pervaded by limitless deities. Your aggregate sense sources, elements, are all the deity. Your whole body is filled with deities. So here, this is also where we often make a difference between gods and demons and so on. So within your mind, if your mind is at peace and there is love and compassion, then naturally all these bacteria will be at peace and happy. On the other hand, if your mind is disturbed and there's a lot of conflict and emotions in your mind, then that will stir up those harmful bacteria and they will cause a lot of illness. So what we call beneficial and harmful bacteria, we can also call bacteria of self-grasping and bacteria of love. So if self-grasping is very strong, then those harmful bacteria will increase and cause a lot of discomfort and sickness. And on the other hand, if there is bodhicitta, then the beneficial bacteria will increase. Then they all become dakas and dakinis. And when you're eating food, it is like you're feeding those dakas and dakinis and deities. And in that case, you wouldn't even worry so much anymore about illness and so on, knowing that your whole body is filled with deities. So when you're eating food, for example, then do so with mindfulness and awareness, knowing that my body is filled with deities. For example, your body is like a big hotel that's just filled with deities, and when you're eating, you are making an offering to these deities, an offering of bodhicitta, and then they all also become endowed with bodhicitta. So that is also the meaning of that verse by Milarepa. Eating and drinking becomes a feast offering.
long hungry in some way. The be natural to long they are negative. That's it again and Wasaki by the Karina. Ubor Wata the some kind of Niga they are the judge was second. They not they are long shook the left to your top. Little home tower, Gina. Little home the one home tree, Madame Hussein Tapa. Say, got the set of a child. They mina ni pa ni got the that the home tree, sema to the home tree. The trees of your Gongo Ping Jumbo, Nigakura, the Hajangar Chimbo. Malama Sardi Chipatama, Rodoko Chipatama, Zapon Sonko de Chipatama, Malama Sardi Chipatama.
And then the third verse by Milarepa was that and then there's the instruction for recognizing the luminosity of the dream state. And so that now refers to also the meditation when we go to sleep. So first we have habituated to practice throughout the day. For example, we have practiced the Om Ahung Vata recitation and have habituated to that in the waking state. And also we mentioned that the Om Ahung Vata recitation actually is the essence of all mantra recitation. So when you go to sleep, then visualize either at your heart or navel a hung and practice the Om Ahung Vata recitation on the basis of love and compassion, wishing for the benefit of sentient beings. And then through this, first in the dream, you might be able to remember the suffering of sentient beings in the dream and then help them. So the imprints of virtue and love that you have developed in the waking state then arise also in the dream state, and gradually it becomes increasingly clear. For example, if you have a habit of spinning a prayer wheel, then you might also have a dream about that. And then later, when you experience a nightmare, some fear in your dream, then through that you might also be able to recognize that you are in a dream. So you practice again and again in this way. There's all kinds of different ways of practicing with dreams. There's different instructions, but that's all difficult to understand now. Also, we don't have a text. But what's most important is to, what all of you are already a bit used to, is to meditate on the Hong at your navel as you fall asleep. And actually, when you visualize the Hong at the navel, you think of the Hong at the navel, it is like a pulsating vibration that is felt at the navel. And that actually has helped me also personally, just to see the Hong like that, like going together with your pulse. It pulsates like a vibration at your navel and then throughout your entire body. So the point here is also that the Hong is not a letter, just a script, but the nature of the Hong is actually wind energy. It is that the syllable Hong is wind energy taking on a shape. So when we practice the 6 dharmas of Naropa, that's actually the most crucial point, to hold the wind energy at the navel. And actually also scientists in various fields of science like psychology and so on have also found the significance of the winds abiding in the navel. So when the wind is in the navel, then naturally strength also increases in your body. So when you fall asleep, practice the Om Ahung Vata recitation and meditate on the Hong, and gradually you will recognize the dream state and also be able to wake yourself up. But actually what you can, until then, when you fall asleep thinking of the Hong, the moment you wake up, immediately again think of the Hong. It is that if you practice in this way, remembering the Hong the very moment you wake up and falling asleep with it, then the whole sleep state actually becomes like meditation. So this time of falling asleep and sleeping, to practice during that time also is actually extremely important.
Traum des Selbst durchführen, dann wenigstens im Moment des Aufwachens, da wo wir aus dem Traum erwachen, sofort an dieses Om zu denken, an dieses Om und den Atemstrom mit Om Ahum zu verbinden. So habe ich es empfohlen.
Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. I will say that thing here.
Anzusagen vorhin, dass diese Fragen, von denen gestern die Rede war, so Timothy sagte, wir sollten unbedingt die Gegenwart der beiden Campus benutzen und dazu Fragen sammeln. Wir haben jetzt heute eine Plastikbox, eine halbdüssige Plastikbox da irgendwo aufgebaut.
Sie steht noch nicht, aber sie wird gleich stehen. Auf dem Tresen.
So the questions that you can ask those campos, there's this plastic box that Annie-Sophia is holding. So please put your questions into that box. So because we wanted to give everyone enough time to really think about their questions and to collect more questions, we decided that we will not answer the questions today, but we will start with that tomorrow. Yeah, so please submit your questions into this plastic box.
Also es ist angedacht, dass die Antworten auf Fragen morgen zwischen 14 und 14:30 Uhr stattfinden. So tomorrow the answers of the question 2 p.m. till 2:30. Und die Kiste stelle ich dann gleich auf den Tresen.